Welcome back. In earlier lecture, you understood about basics of MUnit, how to write a simple test case, how to write various assertions using assert equals, assert that, and assert expression. Now, in this lecture, we'll understand about few more concepts of MUnit, like how to verify whether the call is going to a particular message processor or not, and I can verify whether a particular message processor is called 2 times or 3 times using something called as Verifycall. And also we'll try to understand how to mock the external dependencies, how to spy any particular message processors. Okay, let us see. Now my requirement is I want to write a functional test to test this main flow. And whenever I'm passing a query parameter, let's say id equals to 1, I want to verify that the call is going to this select component. Okay. So best practice is whenever you are writing any components, make sure that their names are also unique. I will write select by id here. And for this select also, I will write select by brand. Now, I want to write a test case to verify whether a call is going to this select by id. Okay, so again, I will right click on main flow, munit, create blank test. This will create one more blank test in the same XML suite file. Or what I could do is I could delete this from munit module. I can drag and drop an empty test like this. Then in the execution, I want to drag and drop a flow reference which will point to main flow. Okay. Then before calling the main flow, again, like earlier, I have to create a event. Now I want this event also to have an attribute just like earlier case, this one. So what I can do is I can select this set event, press Ctrl C and select here Ctrl V. So copy paste. I have copied the same set event, and if you see here, the attributes are same. Okay. Now I'm using set event, calling the main flow. Now I want to assert. Here in munit tools, you have verify call. To verify a call to any processor, I'll drag and drop verify call. Now you have to specify for which processor you want to verify call. I will pick the processor. If I maximize this, it will show me the entire flow. So here I want to verify the call to this component. Inside products by ID flow, I want to verify call to this component. Select by ID. Then I can select an attribute doc name. Okay. Now I am saying that I want to verify call to a message processor whose tag name is db:select, and that tag has an attribute doc name, value is select by ID. If you see this XML, is this tag name db:select? Yes. It is having an attribute doc name select by ID? Yes. I am saying I want to verify a call to a message processor whose tag name is db:select, has an attribute doc name as select by ID. That is what I have configured here in Verifycall. Oh, what happened? I will select, maximize, select by ID, doc name. Okay. Now you can see I specified that I want to verify call to the processor whose tag name is db:select, has an attribute doc name select by ID. How many times I want to make sure that this call went through? If I come down, I can verify the number of process executions. I want to verify that it is called equals to 1 time. Now let us see. I want to run only this case. If I right click on the white space, here I have an option, run munit suite. It will run the entire munit suite. So this case and this case both are executed. But now I don't want to run the entire suite. I right click on the test case. Now I have an option, run only this particular test, run munit test. So this will run only this test, and let us see if the verify call is happening or not. Yes, the test case ran successfully. Now you can see green, right? Now let me make a small change. I will verify call. I will write a test case to verify that this processor is called 2 times. So actually it should fail. Let us run this test again. I should see that there is a failure. I want you to observe the error also. Let us wait. Yes, now you can see that there is a failure of test case. I will select this. Here you can see the assertion error. On DB select, expected 2 but got only 1 call. So I intentionally made 2 fail because I know that it is called only once. Okay, now I modified. Now we understood how to actually verify call. Okay, one more thing I want to tell you. In both of these cases, the set event is common, right? So don't you think that we are duplicating set event in both cases? Yes. So sometimes if we want um some logic to be executed before each and every test, what we can do is we can write such logic in before test. I will drag before test into the XML. I'll drag this set event here. So whatever I keep inside this before test will be executed before each and every test. In this case, I have 2 cases. So before test will be executed 2 times. Let us see. I'll just drag and drop a logger here and I will write a simple log inside logger, and just I will write this to identify. Let us run the suite right now. In the logs, I'm going to show you how many times this logger is called. Let us see. Okay, the test case succeeded. Now let us see the logs. Do you see inside logger is called 2 times, once for each test. Okay. Suppose if you want some logic to be executed once for entire suite, test suite, you can write such thing inside the suite. So it will be executed only once for the entire test suite. That means in this case, it will be called only once. Similarly, if you want some logic to be executed after every test case, then you can write such logic inside after test. So in this case, there are two test cases. Whatever we write inside after test will be executed 2 times. Or sometimes, if you want some logic to be executed after suite, only once per suite, then you can write such logic here. So in this case, there are 2 test cases, but whatever we write inside after suite will be executed only once for the entire suite. So with that, you can use before suite, after suite, before test, after test, based on our requirement. Okay, now I will delete all this. Fine. Now let me tell you one more thing. Here, what I have done is I have written test case to test my main flow. My main flow, you can see, it is actually calling other flows. and this flow is calling a database. Now, what if there is a bug in this products by ID flow? Because of a bug in products by ID flow, my test case for main flow will fail. No, I want to write a unit test for only main flow. I want to test only the logic in the main flow. So if I want to write unit test cases, what I should do is I should mock all the external dependencies. So here in the main flow, I'm calling an external flow. I have to mock this and write my assets. Or in this case, if I want to write a test case for products by ID flow, this is actually making a call to database select. I have to mock the call to database. Even though database is not running, my test cases should run. So if I want to write any unit test case, I have to mock all the external calls. Till now, we have written functional test cases. So we have allowed the main flow to call the other flow, and this flow also is calling the database. End-to-end test we have written. But right now, I want to write a unit test for products by ID flow. So that means I have to mock the external call to database. Let us see how to mock. So as I want to write a test case for this one, I can actually create a blank test. Or instead, to make it simple, what I am going to do is, okay, these are testing the main flow, right? Let me write one more test case for testing only this products by ID flow. I will right click, create blank test. Here it is. So in before test, I have created set event to set attribute ID equals to 1. I will use that only. Now, when I'm calling the flow reference, whenever the call goes to this select component, I want my mock to be executed. So whenever I'm mocking, I should know what is the input expected by this mock and what this mock should return. Okay. So what I can do is, I know that this select query is going to return me array of all the products satisfying this criteria. Basically, I'm expecting an array of objects based on the product ID. I know that. So what I will do is to mock the database call in the behavior part, I will drag and drop mock. Mock when. So when should the mock execute? Whenever the control comes to select by ID. So I'll pick the processor, maximize it. So here, whenever the control comes to this select by ID with this doc name, I want my mock to be executed. And what should the mock return? Here, return payload. I want the mock to return a payload. I am writing an expression here. I will select this graphical view. Here, I need to write the payload, what the mock should return. I know that this is the product with ID 1, but select will always return an array. So inside the array, I'm creating this one. I know that database will normally return this if product ID is 1. So I'm mocking the response payload. The mock will return this payload. In this case, I don't want my mock to return any attributes or variables or error. I just configured that whenever this mock is executed, it will return this payload. This is the expected payload which I am expecting from database. It is an array of product. Okay, then I have mocked it. Okay, now here in the assertion, I want to assert expression. I'll drag and drop. Assert that payload must equal to, and I want to pass this JSON. Whenever I give product by ID, I'm expecting this JSON. I will assert. So fine, if I see the graphical view, this is the one, right? Now, I save it. One thing I want you to observe that in this M unit, earlier when I ran the test cases, wherever the control is going, tick marks are generated. The control went up to this and up to this. So actually now MUnit also will generate something called as coverage report. Let me just check. Here there is MUnit coverage. The MUnit coverage is saying that only 44% of the scenarios are tested. So main flow is tested only 40%, but product by ID flow is tested 100%. We didn't even write a test case for testing products by brand till now. I'll generate a report. See the generate report. It is giving the test coverage. 44% only we covered. So in main flow, 40% of the cases we covered. In product by ID flow, we covered 100%. So this is the coverage report. Okay. Now, one thing I want you to understand is there is a tick mark if the control goes here, right? Observe it. Now, I'm going to run only this particular test where I am mocking. So here, I'm going to run only this particular test. Let me run this. Okay, I can see that test case is successful. Now, if I go to my flow, I can see that there is a tick mark here, but in this case, the database select would not have executed. Okay, let me test actually. What I will do is, I'll go to my services and I'll stop the database also. I'll search for MySQL. I'm stopping it. So now database is not running. So let us see if this test case, which is calling this select, will still pass or not. I will run this, run the MUnit test. It will still pass because I have mocked the select component. The call will not even go to database. My mock will return the response. Let us see. Okay, the test case, you can see it is succeeded even though my database is down. So we understood how to mock any component. We can mock any external call. We can mock any components. What all we need to do is whenever we are mocking, we should know what is the expected response. We have to configure then return. We have to configure payload, attributes, variables, just like how you would expect that component to return. Okay, so now you understood about mock when. One more thing. I also wanted to check what is the payload before this component, what is the payload after this component. In my flow, maybe I want to check what is the payload before this component and what is the payload after this component. So that means I want to spy. I want to actually spy any particular component. I can spy. How to spy? Normally spying means what? You want to ensure the payload or some attributes before executing this particular component is as expected, and after calling this component is it as expected. So how to spy? What all I can do is simply I can drag and drop spy component here, and I should tell when this spy should be executed. First, I'll pick the processor for this transform message. I want. Okay. So, better what I have to do is I have to actually go and give a unique name to this transformer. I'll give a name, uh, transform select by ID output. I give this name. Okay. Now I'll go here and pick the processor, maximize. Here, the name is unique. You have to make sure. So I told when my spy should be executed. Now, what do you want to assert before call and after call? So I will write an assert expression. Before call, payload must equal to array. From database, I am expecting an array. Array of what? I'll maximize. This is the JSON I'm expecting. Before I'm expecting array which contains this one, and after I'm expecting payload must equal to um, only the object. Okay, so here this transformer, if you see, it is returning only the object, first element of the array. That is what I'm expecting. So that's how we can actually spy any component. Mocks and spies have to be dragged and dropped into behavior part. Now let me run this test case and check. You can see that test case is successful. Suppose I will write a wrong assert. Before I'm not expecting an array. Let me make a difference. Before calling transformer, I'm expecting only one object. Now let us see whether spy is going to fail my test case or not. I'm running the case. Let us wait. You can observe here. I'll maximize this. Yes, I can observe that there's a failure. Let us see the reason. I'll see this munit errors. Yeah, it is saying assertion error. Expected a normal object, but actual was an array. Right? So, like that, you understood how to use a spy for spying any component. So, like this, we can write unit test cases for any scenarios. We have reached the end of this lecture. So what you can do is now you can go to my GitHub and in day 21 and 22 MUnit folder, open this document, MUnit basics. So you have already completed up to this part in the earlier lecture. You have completed this exercise. Now start from this part, number 2, complete the exercises up to before this one, before step 2. Okay, that's all. See you in next lecture.